Okay, we're going to look at another type of vector product, or multiplication of two vectors, and this is called the cross or the vector product. You can either use either name. Let's just recap a little bit and have a look at, we've got two vectors A and B, and let's just have a look at what the scalar product is. Now, two names for it's either the scalar or the dot product. And that was A dotted with B, absolute value of A times the absolute value of B, cos of theta, where theta is the angle between the two vectors. So that's stuff we've already done. So now let's look at the new type of product, and it's called the cross or the vector product. Just by definition, it is A, instead of using the dot now we'll use the multiplication sign, is equal to the absolute value of A, absolute value of B, which is saying, okay, that's the same as up there. Instead of cos, we use sine theta, and we have this new addition here, which is a unit vector. The little hat like that means it's a unit vector in some direction. So what I want to explain here is how do we find out which direction our resultant is. Now, before we do that, this is all a scalar. Scalar, scalar, scalar. Three scalars multiplied together give you just a scalar quantity, and this is a vector. So the cross or vector product, the answer is a vector, not a scalar as in up here. So the direction of n, it's a unit vector, means it has a magnitude of 1. The way to determine, now I'll see if I can just get the little camera up here and we can have a look. The way to determine where this n goes is to place your hand along. Now, whichever vector is mentioned first in the cross product, so we've got A mentioned first. So I'm going to point my pinky, my hand is going to go in that direction, and I curl my fingers towards the second vector, which is B. So curling towards B, my thumb now will point in the direction of the unit vector n. So it's pointing straight up the page at you. So to go over it again, to work out the direction that the unit vector goes, whichever vector here is mentioned first, A, you put your hand straight out, so your little finger is pointing straight out in the direction of vector A. Curl your fingers towards the second vector mentioned, which is B, and where your thumb goes will give you the direction of the unit vector and the resultant vector. Okay, so let me just get that back again. So if you like, A is in this plane, B is in this plane, my thumb pointed straight up, and I'll just draw it like that just to show a bit of 3D there, but it's virtually coming straight out of the page at you. So it is a vector. The resultant is a vector, so we'll just put n. So whatever this turns out to be a scalar will be multiplied out and it'll be along that direction. So we use the what's called the right hand rule. So you must use your right hand for that. Right hand rule to determine direction of the unit vector n. Okay, what about B cross A? Just using the rule, it will be the absolute value of B, absolute value of A, sine theta. Now that's going to be exactly the same so far, so that is exactly the same as up here. And then it'll be times unit vector, a unit vector. Now, if we use the right hand rule again, my fingers will be pointing out in that direction. I curl my hand so it goes, the fingers point around in the A direction, and my thumb is actually going to point into the page. So we'll just say vector, unit vector M. So vector M, unit vector M, it will go in the opposite direction. So what's the relationship between A cross B and B cross A? One is going in this direction, and in the very opposite direction will be the other. So A cross B will be equal to negative B cross A. Vectors going in the opposite direction are just the negatives of each other. Special case. What happens when A cross with B equals 0 vector? Alright, so by definition, A cross B will equal the absolute value of A, absolute value of B, sine theta n. Now that's not 0, that's not 0, that's not 0, so therefore sine of theta is equal to 0. And if sine of theta is equal to 0, we go back to our unit circle. What angle has a sine of 0? Theta must be equal, sine of 0 is 0. So therefore the angle between the two vectors is equal to 0 degrees. Now what does that mean? That means that A must be parallel to B. So therefore vector A will be parallel to vector B. So if the cross product is equal to 0, then the two vectors must be parallel to each other.